I reacted. I didn't know I did, but once the Paradiso jumped on the judge and began to stab her in the neck.
The criminal justice system appears to be insensitive to the human condition. It is clearly difficult to understand issues involved in violent reactions in the courtroom. Courtrooms are frequently the scene of legal disputes. Rather than violence, here are 5 convicts who were killed in court. Number 1, William Stryer, in 2003. William Stryer was at the heart of a dramatic and violent encounter outside a courthouse. That would permanently change the path of his life. Stryer opened fire on Gerald Curry, a lawyer, on that fateful day in a filmed incident. That left Curry injured and Stryer facing a life sentence plus 25 years in prison. The events of that day were filmed by a TV cameraman who happened to be covering the murder trial of actor Robert Blake, which had nothing to do with Stryer's case. The video showed a frightening sequence in which Stryer, armed with 2 weapons, fired 5 rounds into Curry's neck, arms, and shoulder. Curry bobbed, weaved, and hunched beneath a slimed tree in a desperate fight for survival, his life hanging in the balance. Stryer's attempted murder conviction in January marked the start of a judicial path that would lead to his life sentence. The reason for this heinous attack, as revealed during the trial, was Stryer's deep resentment and dissatisfaction with Curry over the administration of a $98,000 trust fund that Stryer had received, following an accident in which he was hit by a car. This obviously out-of-control money argument eventually motivated Stryer to perform a horrific deed. After the incident, Stryer strolled away from the scene with an unsettling composure, pocketing his firearms and walking away. "That's what you get for taking my money," he said, as he exited the courtroom and into the thoughts of those who witnessed the horrible episode. It was a startling display of savagery, and the consequences for Stryer would be severe. During the trial, however, the defense team gave a different viewpoint, saying that Stryer thought his trust had been terribly abused, causing him to think he had been harmed. Gerald Curry, the lawyer who took the brunt of Stryer's rage, expressed delight at his assailant's life sentence. Stryer, in his opinion, was a dangerous person, and the decision assured that he would never be free again. Number 2, Slobodin Proljak. The situation takes an unexpected turn and the inmates find themselves in the spotlight of their courtroom drama. Slobodin Proljak, who took his own life during his sentencing hearing in 2017. Slobodin Proljak was a Bosnian Croat who was born in Yugoslavia in 1945. However, during the Croatian War of Independence 1991, his life took a drastic change. Proljak joined the Croatian military and rose to the rank of general, acquiring a pivotal role during the conflict. Proljak returned to civilian life as a successful businessman after the conflict ended in 1995. However, in early 2000, Proljak, along with 5 others, faced war crimes charges brought about by the International Criminal Tribunal for former Yugoslavia. He was indicted on grave accusations after surrendering to authorities, including Geneva Convention breaches, violations of war laws and customs, and crimes against humanity. The ICTY said that Proljak either ordered these crimes or was aware of them but did not intervene. The trial began in April 2006 and continued for around 7 years. Proljak was found guilty and sentenced to 7 years in jail in 2013. He contested the ruling, claiming innocence. In November 2017, a court in The Hague maintained sections of his sentence while dismissing others. His 20-year prison sentence, however, remained unaffected. Surprisingly, he had already served around 13 years in jail, leaving him with 7 years until eventual release. Proljak, on the other hand, was passionately opposed to the ruling following the pronouncement by the judge. He made a stunning remark in the courtroom. He sipped a liquid from a little brown container he carried with him and said, "I just drank poison." The court ordered the curtains to be drawn, and Proljak was quickly transferred to the hospital. Tragically, he passed away as a result of heart failure. Proljak's demise generated various issues. This perplexing part of the case perplexed many people. Some former ICTY judges saw it as a tragedy since it denied war victims the justice they sought. Prawljack's demise left a complicated legacy and a slew of unresolved issues, casting a pall over an already difficult chapter of history. Number 3. David Paradiso. David Paradiso's unfortunate path was even worse when he became involved in a judicial saga. It's a fascinating story of courtroom turmoil and violence that began with his arrest in December 2006 for a heinous crime: the suspected demise of his girlfriend, Eileen Pelt. Their relationship had just lasted for a few weeks when a tragedy occurred in the back seat of a car driven by Deborah, Paradiso's mother. Deborah later claimed that she had not heard the couple argue until that fatal day. The events that followed were even more confusing. Undaunted by the seriousness of his crime, Paradiso compelled his mother to drive him from Loy, California to a place 15 miles distant in Amador County, where he disposed of Eileen's lifeless body along a road. To explain the unexplained, Paradiso's defense team claimed that he was under the effect of methamphetamine. During this encounter, he was captured and charged with the crime. Nevertheless, David's mother, Deborah Paradiso, had been profoundly concerned about her son's mental health. In the weeks leading up to the court hearings, she noticed indicators of a potential collapse in him, such as a sense of sorrow in his eyes. She had spoken out against her son taking the stand, expressing worries about his mental health. This outburst caused a hiccup in the proceedings. During this little respite, David Paradiso made his move. He came up behind Judge Fox and attacked Fox with an unidentifiable sharp weapon. He stabbed the judge numerous times and attacked her physically as well. Several courtroom visitors attempted to intercede, but it was Lowy Detective Eric Bradley who grabbed his gun and shot Paradiso. David Paradiso passed away as a result of the gunshot wounds he sustained during the event. This unexpected turn of events left a path of destruction in its wake. David's family, particularly his mother, Deborah, and brother, Aaron Paradiso, were overcome with sadness and stated their conviction that the tragedy may have been avoided. For Jonathan Schmitz, few cases have been as frightening and emotionally fraught as Jonathan Schmitz's attempts to take his own life. This terrible incident occurred in 1995 during a high-profile trial that received national notice. Jonathan Schmitz's meteoric rise began with a guest appearance on the Jenny Jones program, a famous daytime talk program noted for its sensationalized fare. Schmitz, a calm and humble man, was asked to the program by a producer who explained that a hidden admirer wished to expose their name. Schmitz had no idea that this admirer would turn out to be Scott Amater, another guest on the show. Amater admitted his affection for Schmitz in front of a live studio audience during the episode's recording, indicating that he had a crush on him. The audience reacted with laughter and applause, but Schmitz was plainly uncomfortable and perplexed. The piece was broadcast on national television, exposing Schmitz to mockery and disgrace. On March 1995, 3 days after the filming, Schmitz returned to Amater's mobile home and fatally shot him. The sad tragedy pushed both men into the public limelight. Schmitz was arrested and charged with murder in the first degree. The case became a symbol of reality television's ethical limitations and the possible repercussions of public humiliation. Schmitz's mental condition became a significant source of dispute. As the trial progressed, his defense claimed that the public humiliation on the Jenny Jones show drove him over the edge, causing him to suffer from melancholy and hopelessness. Schmitz's trial took an unexpected and tragic turn in March 1996. He pulled out a revolver and attempted to take his own life in the courtroom. Spectators, attorneys, and court officials were all stunned as Schmitz pointed the revolver at his own head and fired. Schmitz miraculously survived the self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was taken to the hospital right away and had life-saving surgery. Schmitz's mental health came under much more scrutiny after this attempt. Schmitz was eventually found guilty of second-degree murder in Amater's demise. The jury agreed with his defense's claim concerning the influence of the Jenny Jones show on his mental condition, resulting in a lower conviction than the initial first-degree crime allegation. Schmitz received a sentence of 25 to 50 years in jail. Number 5. Klaus Grabowski. His story began in Germany, where police identified him as a repeat criminal. Subsequently, he was arrested for strangling a child and was sentenced to probation, while Grabowski first received light treatment in court. The authorities were not as merciful this time. Grabowski was on the verge of committing his most heinous act, setting the stage for a memorable courtroom brawl. Marianne Bock, born on June 3, 1950, was the pivotal person in this horrific story. Her upbringing in West Germany was difficult, with a violent father and a mother who abandoned her. When she was a teenager, she became a mother at the age of 16, having to give up her first kid for adoption. At the age of 18, she had another kid, whom she had to give up after being attacked just before giving birth on November 14, 1972. Marianne gave birth to her third and final child, a beautiful girl called Anna. The sad sequence of events began on May 5, 1980, when Marianne and Anna got into a violent disagreement before Anna left for school. The 7-year-old, who was heartbroken and upset, opted not to go to school that day. Klaus Grabowski, a neighbor from their apartment complex, offered her the opportunity to play with his cats in his apartment while she departed. Claiming to go to school. Once Anna was at Grabowski's apartment, he assaulted her for hours. Surprisingly, he then strangled her with his fiancée's tights, brutally ending her young life. Grabowski did not escape punishment. When his fiancée found the heinous reality, she promptly called the cops. On March 3, 1981, the trial began, with Grabowski seeking to shift guilt onto the little child he had violently stolen from the world. He said Anna attempted to seduce him, demanded money, and threatened to expose him if he did not cooperate. He depicted himself as the victim in his twisted story. This terrible show of victim blaming enraged Marianne, who had already been through unbearable suffering. She made the decision to take affairs into her own hands. Marianne carried out her task on March 6, 1981. At an apparently normal court session. Her clothing concealed a .22 caliber Beretta pistol. She responded quickly when she saw Grabowski in the courtroom and fired 7 rounds at him. 6 of the bullets were successful, culminating in Grabowski's demise. A video of the shooting revealed Marianne's determined manner. Expressing no emotion even when others interfered to detain her, she exhibited no regret. Marianne received a 6-year jail term for manslaughter, of which she served just 3. She passed away due to pancreatic cancer in 1996 and was buried next to her adored daughter, Anna. There you have it. Let us know in the comments which one of these incidents you think was the craziest. Also, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And do share the video with your friends. We will see you in the next video.